The story begins with Sungwoon playing a strategy game called Lost World, where he's known as Nebula. In the game, 32 players act as gods, guiding races like humans or orcs to develop a modern civilization and battle each other. Sungwoon is the top-ranked player and is undefeated for 11 months. Right now, his final and most crucial match is against the server's second-ranked player, Hegemonia. Hegemonia has used a popular strategy known as the Holy Orc method. He has focused on making his orc population grow very fast. This massive number of followers generates an immense amount of faith, a powerful resource that allows him to perform miraculous spells to shield his civilization. In stark contrast, Nebula has focused exclusively on technological advancement of its human population and has progressed to a level comparable to the end of World War II, complete with firearms, an air force, and a nuclear arsenal. The climactic battle unfolds like a complex chess match. Nebula initiates his attack with a full-scale nuclear strike. Dozens of intercontinental ballistic missiles launch toward the Orc capital. Hegemonia, however, is prepared for this. First, he neutralizes a few using his magical anti-ballistic missiles. Then, he gathers the faith of his followers and summons a colossal 100-meter-tall spiritual orc. This entity successfully intercepts the remaining nuclear warheads. Confident in his seemingly unlimited resource, Hegemonia mocks Nebula over voice chat. He boasts that in Lost World, faith always brings results, proudly calling it his optimized Holy Orc strategy. He suggests Nebula should just give up, certain of his victory. Nebula reveals this nuclear assault was merely a diversion, and his true winning move is a secret weapon hidden in space, a military satellite armed with massive tungsten rods. He activates the kinetic bombardment. The rods, each weighing 10 tons, begin their descent from orbit. Gravity accelerates them to incredible speeds, causing them to glow red-hot as they tear through the atmosphere. Hegemonia is completely unprepared for this. He desperately commands his Holy Orc to block the rod aimed directly at the main temple where the Orc Emperor is praying. The attempt is futile. The kinetic projectile slices through the spiritual guardian like a knife through butter, offering no resistance. The rod impacts the Imperial Palace with force comparable to nuclear detonation. The Orc Emperor, the source of Hegemonia's faith, is instantly obliterated along with the temple. This single event cuts Hegemonia's connection to his power. System notifications flood his screen, informing him that his spells are failing and disappearing due to the complete loss of faith. Without this resource, his civilization crumbles. The Holy Orc Apostle scatters, and the remaining nuclear missiles destroy the major cities. Hegemonia has no choice but to surrender. Nebula is declared the winner, securing his position as the undefeated champion for 12 consecutive months. After the match, a unique notification appears on his screen. The message states that the beta testing period for Lost World is over. However, because Sungwoon has completed every achievement, he is offered exclusive early access to the full version of the game. Intrigued and eager to see more, he clicks yes. Suddenly, his reality dissolves. He is pulled into a void surrounded by streams of binary code. When his vision clears, he finds himself standing in what appears to be a ruined temple floating in the cosmos. He soon realizes he is no longer in his own body but has been transformed into his in-game avatar, Nebula. A mysterious hooded woman named Alden approaches him. She knows his username and explains this is not a dream. Other shadowy figures stand nearby, each wearing a mask to conceal their identity. Alden gestures toward a planet below them, a world Sungwoon instantly recognizes as the real Lost World. She addresses all the gathered players with a solemn announcement. She declares that they are no longer mere players controlling a game from a distance. They have now become true gods, and this boundless realm is their new reality. The mysterious woman, Alden, explains that the planet below them is not merely a game setting, but a real world abandoned by its previous gods for unknown reasons. Its once splendid civilization, where various races lived in harmony, now lies in ruins. The purpose of the game Lost World was never just entertainment. It was designed as an elaborate test to find suitable candidates to become this world's new deities. The rules mirror exactly the game they all mastered, she continues. By generating faith among the native populations, a player can ascend to become the planet's sole divinity. This ultimate position grants absolute power capable of fulfilling any desire imaginable. Nebula finds this proposition both incredible and terrifying, immediately considering the option of refusal. Alden clarifies that withdrawal is only possible at this moment. Anyone choosing to leave will return to their ordinary life with all memories of this place erased. However, once someone commits to the game, only two outcomes remain: either disappear entirely or achieve godhood. After outlining these stark alternatives, Alden offers the assembled players a final chance to depart. She produces an ornate set of glowing cards, each representing a different starting territory on the planet below. Nebula watches as 5 figures abruptly vanish from their group, their numbers diminishing from 32 to 27 as those players choose safety over this divine gamble. As the highest-ranked player, Nebula receives the privilege of first selection from the remaining cards. He chooses his card and immediately finds himself teleported to his designated starting zone. Intense frustration washes over him as he recognizes his terrible luck. He has drawn the area with the historically lowest win rate, a remote insect-dominated region on the eastern continent. His domain is limited to commanding lowly insect-type creatures, a significant disadvantage compared to those who will command humans, elves, or other more powerful species. Despite this setback, Nebula's strategic mind quickly identifies advantages others might overlook. The region's isolation means it remains largely untouched by the major conflicts raging across the continent. This seclusion grants him precious time to develop his power without immediate threat of invasion. Furthermore, insects can prove surprisingly potent against certain local tribes, particularly the frogmen that inhabit the nearby wetlands. His initial survey of the territory reveals a pressing problem, however. His starting tribe is small and weak, making faith generation exceptionally difficult. With only 10 faith points at his disposal, an amount too meager to influence the well-fed and content frogmen tribe of 500 that dominates the area, he must find a more vulnerable target for his divine influence. His search soon reveals another local species, a primitive tribe of lizardmen struggling to survive in the harsh environment. These resilient creatures sustain themselves by feeding on insects and possess the remarkable ability to endure long periods without water. Their smaller population works to Nebula's advantage, as does their apparent vulnerability. Through careful observation, he notes their injured and elderly members, but his attention focuses on one specific individual, a young, severely injured lizard man who appears to have been recently ousted from his tribe in a violent power struggle. Nebula perceives the deep despair and resentment within these marginalized lizardmen. The more these creatures feel abandoned by their own kind and the world itself, the more they yearn for a chance to change their destiny. This desperate longing makes them ideal candidates for divine intervention, likely to embrace even small miracles as signs of favor. Recognizing this perfect opportunity, Nebula resolves to begin his divine campaign by targeting the young, injured lizard man, seeing in him the first spark of potential faith that could ignite his path to godhood. The desert sun is unforgiving as the lizard man tribe trudges through the harsh terrain. Each step drains their strength, particularly for the weaker members. The injured lizard man called Lacrack trails behind the main group, his poorly healed wound throbbing with every movement. The injury has become inflamed from malnutrition and constant travel, slowing his progress to a painful limp. The entire pack exists in a state of desperate survival. Their bodies show obvious signs of deterioration, cheeks sunken deep, ribs protruding through scaled skin after enduring extended hunger and the desert's unforgiving environment. Their hunting yields meager results, limited to occasional small birds and stray animals that provide little sustenance for so many mouths. Suddenly, a tribe member spots movement in the distance, a gazelle struggling with a broken leg. The tribe reacts with astonished disbelief at their unexpected fortune. The injured animal presents an easy target, and the entire group surges forward in desperate hunger. Without proper tools, the lizardmen tear the gazelle apart using only their hands and teeth, blood spattering across the hot sand in their frantic feeding. The old and weak members cannot compete with the healthier individuals during the frenzied feast. They retreat to the sidelines, exhausted and resigned to their hunger, while the stronger members devour the fresh meat. The lizardmen consume the gazelle with intense fervor, eagerly slurping and tearing into the flesh until only bones remain. A compassionate female lizardman named Jael gathers the leftover bones, determined to bring some nourishment to those who couldn't participate in the feeding. She distributes them to the weaker members, including the injured Lacrack. Healthier tribespeople question her decision, arguing that Lacrack will likely die soon, regardless of receiving extra food. They acknowledge his past bravery in confronting the saber-toothed tiger that threatened the entire tribe, an act that saved many lives but left him severely wounded, yet maintain that survival demands prioritizing those most likely to endure their harsh circumstances. As night falls, the full moon casts silvery light across the desert landscape. The tribe settles down to sleep near some protective rock formations, but Lacrack remains awake, clutching his painful wound. Suddenly, a morpho butterfly appears, its wings shimmering in the moonlight as it flutters above him. The insect circles persistently, seeming to beckon him toward the nearby cliff. Frustrated by its strange behavior, Lacrack tries to swat it away, but the butterfly refuses to leave, continuing its insistent dance. Despite his pain and exhaustion, Lacrack feels compelled to follow the mysterious butterfly. Other tribe members wake and watch his progress with mixed curiosity and indifference. Some even hope he might be abandoning the group, which would reduce their burden. Mesmerized by the butterfly's movements, Lakrak climbs higher and higher up the cliff face. Upon reaching the summit, his eyes widen in utter amazement. Before him stretches a vast swarm of blue insects covering the mountain's surface in a tentacle-like formation. The incredible sight overwhelms Lakrak with both hunger and wonder, as he realizes this swarm could provide sustenance for the entire tribe for days. Meanwhile, in his divine realm, Sungwoon, now in his avatar form as Nebula, watches events unfold through his system interface. A notification flashes before him, confirming that Lizardmen Group 1102-1 has recognized his miracle. Nebula reflects with satisfaction that the tribe has finally acknowledged his divine intervention, meaning they won't need to worry about food for several days. He then notices something unusual. Lakrak is personally telling his fellow tribe members about the miracle. Nebula realizes that individuals with high willpower can accomplish much independently. Another notification appears, announcing that Lakrak's group has recognized him as the nameless god of beetles. Nebula smirks at the name, wondering why they chose beetles over butterflies, musing that perhaps no god starts with a grand title. Focusing his attention on Lakrak, Nebula recognizes that this injured lizard man will become profoundly important to his plans, just as he believes he will become essential to Lakrak's survival and purpose. Lakrak's remarkable success in securing vital resources for his tribe has dramatically transformed his standing among the lizardmen. His earlier efforts to ensure their survival have earned him widespread recognition and respect, elevating him from a marginalized member to a figure of growing importance within the community. The tribe now regards him with heightened esteem, seeing in him not just a survivor but a potential leader. Yet his journey toward greater influence and power remains incomplete, with significant challenges still ahead. The butterfly, which had previously guided him, reappears, once again beckoning him toward the cold lands. This time, Lakrak's people hesitate. They are uncertain about following the butterfly's lead, especially since the path ahead is unfamiliar and potentially dangerous. Several tribespeople suggest alternative routes, advocating for more conservative paths that stay within known regions. Despite their apprehensions, Lakrak remains steadfast in his conviction to follow the butterfly's guidance. He argues that wandering aimlessly through the wilderness would yield little progress compared to trusting this divine sign. He feels certain the butterfly leads toward something transformative, something greater than anything they've encountered before. From his hidden divine perspective, Nebula observes the lizardmen's debate in silence. He recognizes they still lack sufficient faith in him to accept direct intervention in their decisions, but he knows that if they place their trust in him fully, they will experience a future beyond their wildest imaginations. Lakrak's unwavering faith ultimately prevails, and he follows the butterfly's guidance despite the tribe's reservations. Their journey leads them to an extraordinary discovery, a lush desert oasis surrounded by harsh, unforgiving sands. This miraculous find represents a sanctuary the tribe could never have located through their own efforts alone. Lakrak becomes certain that the nameless beetle god, whom he now firmly believes to be his divine protector, has guided them to this sacred place. His faith deepens considerably, strengthening the bond between mortal and deity. As a direct result of this strengthened faith, Nebula's divinity level rises significantly, marking a crucial milestone in his ascension. His designated area, where the lizardmen reside, advances to bug level 2, granting him new capabilities. The blessing of bugs is bestowed upon Lakrak, enhancing his physical and spiritual abilities dramatically and drawing him closer to the divine path he now walks. Nebula's voice echoes through Lakrak's consciousness as a silent, compelling command. The message is clear. If Lakrak wishes to truly understand divine will, he must become Nebula's high priest and deliver his messages to the people. Nebula's blessing will provide the strength and guidance needed to fulfill this sacred role. That night, Nebula's expanding power manifests in new ways. With his enhanced abilities, he gains the capacity to enter the dreams of his followers. Understanding that a clear, recognizable image of their deity will help solidify his place as the lizardmen's god, he begins shaping this vision. In Lakrak's dream, a powerful image emerges, a cow's skull that radiates divine presence. Lakrak immediately recognizes this as the true appearance of the nameless beetle god, a symbol of the divine power he has come to believe in so completely. The next morning, Lakrak awakens with absolute certainty about what must be done. He informs the tribe they need to hunt a wild buffalo and use its bones to carve the sacred image of their god. The tribe members express immediate concern, knowing the buffalo herd represents extreme danger. Many voice strong disagreement with the plan, arguing the risk is too great and advocating for safer alternatives. Despite the tribe's doubts and fears, Lakrak remains resolute. He believes the buffalo hunt represents a necessary step in fulfilling divine will and strengthening their connection to the nameless beetle god. Understanding the risks but compelled by faith, he decides to undertake this dangerous task alone. The other lizardmen watch in disbelief as he prepares for this seemingly suicidal mission. Lacraque reassures them that he is under the divine protection. The blessing of the nameless beetle god has not only healed his previous injuries, but has significantly enhanced his strength and capabilities. To demonstrate this transformation, he takes a javelin and throws it with impossible force and accuracy. The weapon effortlessly pierces a large tree several meters away, a feat that leaves the tribe in stunned silence. They all watch this surprised, and their awe transforms into burgeoning faith as they witness the tangible power their god has granted their champion. Just then, as if answering some unspoken prayer, a massive herd of buffalo suddenly appears in the valley below their mountain settlement. The earth trembles with the thunder of their hooves, and dust clouds rise like smoke signals against the horizon. Interpreting this unexpected arrival as divine guidance from their deity, Lacraque demonstrates remarkable courage that stuns his tribe. Without hesitation, he charges toward the enormous herd alone, armed with nothing but a single spear and his newfound faith. His hunting proves spectacularly successful beyond all expectation. With almost supernatural efficiency, he manages to single out and bring down a full-grown buffalo, an impressive feat that leaves the tribe awestruck. Witnessing this extraordinary demonstration of skill and bravery, other tribe members overcome their initial fear and hesitation. They rush forward to help process the massive animal, their hands working together in coordinated effort to skin, butcher, and prepare the meat for their community. The air fills with the scent of fresh blood and the sounds of shared purpose as they transform the colossal creature into life-sustaining resources. The successful hunt culminates in an elaborate evening ceremony led by Lacraque beneath the starlit desert sky. Using the bison's bleached bones, he carefully arranges them into a powerful symbolic image of the nameless beetle god. He organizes his people into performing a solemn sacrificial ceremony, their voices rising in unison to express profound gratitude for the divine gifts they have received. The tribe's people offer heartfelt prayers to their deity, asking the nameless beetle god to accept their humble offering and continue watching over them. Their sincere devotion during this ceremony generates a substantial increase in Nebula's faith value, the spiritual energy flowing toward him in visible waves of light that only he can perceive. Unknown to the celebrating tribe, Nebula had actually orchestrated the buffalo's miraculous appearance. Using his growing divine abilities, he manipulated wild grass patterns to lure the herd down the mountain, providing essential resources for the struggling community. However, the tribe's people's immediate consumption of even the young calves somewhat disappoints Nebula. This short-sightedness reveals their current inability to grasp concepts of animal husbandry or sustainable resource management. They see food only for today, not potential livestock for tomorrow. Nebula also recognizes the inherent limitations of their oasis environment, understanding that current resources might only sustain them for a few years without proper agricultural or ranching knowledge. Facing these challenges and constrained by the rules that prevent direct instruction, Nebula devises a sophisticated long-term strategy to gradually guide the tribe toward better practices through dreams, signs, and subtle environmental manipulations. He plants seeds of knowledge that will hopefully grow into wisdom over time. Several months after the ceremony, Lacraque experiences a particularly vivid dream in which the altar appears to shake violently, suggesting impending important events. He awakens with a start and immediately climbs the altar, seeking guidance under the moonlight. From his changed appearance, it's clear that under Nebula's continued influence, the tribe has undergone significant physical transformations. Their skin color has evolved from light blue to darker, almost indigo shades, which Lacraque interprets as visible evidence of divine protection and blessing, a mark of their chosen status. Suddenly, the altar begins shaking again, this time not in dream, but in reality. Lacraque's eyes scan the horizon and spot an approaching threat, a powerful tribe moving with deliberate speed in their direction. Based on their distinctive skin coloration and tribal markings, Lacraque immediately recognizes them as his former tribespeople, the very ones who had exiled him and his followers into the wilderness. Their leader appears particularly formidable, mounted atop a terrifying drake that snorts plumes of smoke, a creature that signals both immense wealth and military power beyond anything Lacraque's current tribe possesses. Lacraque stands at the edge of the settlement and carefully assesses the approaching tribe's substantial numbers as. The sheer scale of their migration suggests their entire population has been forced to move after completely exhausting their original homeland's resources, a familiar story of desperation that his own people had experienced not long ago. He initially speculates they might simply be passing through the territory in search of new lands, but the situation becomes complicated when his overeager patrol team scrambles up the mountain summit for better visibility and prematurely reveals their position. The enthusiastic but inexperienced patrol members begin issuing loud, clear warnings against trespassing, their voices carrying across the valley with more bravado than wisdom. Their aggressive posturing immediately creates tension as the strangers pause their advance. Lecrack demonstrates his growing leadership abilities by calmly moving forward. He raises a hand to silence his patrol and reassures his nervous tribespeople with measured words. He suggests this unexpected encounter might represent divine arrangement rather than mere coincidence, a test or opportunity orchestrated by their god. When several tribespeople ask whether this situation constitutes a test from the nameless beetle god, Lecrack confirms this interpretation without hesitation. He elaborates that he perceives it as a sacred mission to accept and potentially save these strangers, recognizing that they share similar circumstances and origins as displaced people seeking survival. At that precise moment, a morpho butterfly returns, fluttering gracefully between the two groups before settling momentarily on Lecrack's shoulder. He reads this as undeniable proof of divine will and silently promises to carry out that will to the best of his ability. From his divine perspective, Nebula observes these developments with considerable satisfaction. He recognizes that Lecrack has correctly understood his unspoken intentions about uniting both tribes for mutual progress in population growth and technological advancement. What genuinely surprises Nebula is Lecrack reaching this sophisticated conclusion independently without any dream guidance or direct intervention, a development attributable to his remarkable willpower that has now reached an impressive 14 points. This level of autonomous thinking suggests Lecrack could evolve into a self-sufficient leader capable of guiding civilization development without constant divine intervention, though Nebula remains prepared to provide guidance when necessary. When confronted by the patrol's initial warnings, the foreign leader dismisses their concerns with a condescending wave of his hand. He attempts to gather intelligence about the territory's resources and vulnerabilities through seemingly casual questions about water sources and food supplies. Lecrack approaches him peacefully and explains that this land contains abundant water resources from their oasis, sufficient food supplies thanks to recent hunting success, and, most importantly, divine protection under the nameless beetle god. The foreign leader demonstrates clear incomprehension of these spiritual concepts and shows confusion and amusement. He then gestures dismissively toward Lecrack's simple bone armor and spear, while boasting about his own military strength, nearly 200 trained warriors, advanced metal weapons, and mounted scouts. He implies that any wise leader would yield to such superior forces through either submission or strategic retreat to avoid unnecessary bloodshed. Lecrack responds with a calm but firm refusal to engage in conflict, and instead offers sanctuary to those who have lost their homes and promising divine favor for believers who embrace their nameless god of beetles. The foreign leader laughs derisively at this proposition, a harsh sound that echoes across the gathering space. He accuses Lecrack of political naivety and lack of strategic thinking, pointing out that strength ultimately determines survival in their harsh world, not spiritual promises. Despite facing mockery and psychological pressure, Lecrack remains unmoved by these criticisms. With both dignity and quiet conviction, he answers that while the leader may be right about worldly cunning and military strategy, he fundamentally doesn't understand their god or the source of their true strength. The confrontation escalates with terrifying speed as the foreign leader gives a sharp signal to his mounted drake. The massive creature launches itself forward with shocking agility, its powerful muscles coiling and unleashing in a sudden attack directed straight at Lecrack. Facing this enormous beast, Lecrack immediately recognizes his need for divine assistance. He begins praying fervently, calling upon the nameless beetle god to grant him both courage and strength for this critical moment. The creature swats his spear aside with a single powerful strike of its clawed forelimb, shattering the weapon into splinters. The foreign leader laughs cruelly, mocking Lecrack's apparent helplessness, and tells him he might as well accept death now as the situation appears completely hopeless. His so-called dumb warriors join in the mocking laughter, certain of their victory. From his divine perspective, Nebula observes this critical moment with intense focus. His system interface flashes with a notification announcing a civilization clash between the two different tribes. The display reveals that both tribes stand to gain significant experience points from this encounter. Nebula reflects that the mission has arrived at precisely the right moment to test Lecrack's growing faith. The system identifies the area as Lizardman Level 1 territory and informs Nebula that these tribes now fall under his domain. Plus, his new skill is now immediately available. Without a moment's hesitation, Nebula presses the confirmation button to activate this new skill called Divine Ability. A brilliant beam of crystalline light descends from the heavens and envelops Lakrak just as the drake's claws strike toward him with bone-crushing force. The foreign leader smirks in anticipation, believing Lakrak has been crushed completely, but to his astonishment, the attack meets only empty air where Lakrak had stood moments before. Lakrak himself experiences unprecedented power flowing through his body, every muscle, every sinew humming with divine energy as the blessing enhances his capabilities beyond mortal limits. The foreign leader continues to mock him, claiming he won't escape a second time, but Lakrak now feels completely confident, not merely relying on divine power but understanding it has become part of him. The system statistics that Nebula monitors reveal the Drake possesses 87 strength points, while Lakrak's natural strength measures only 30 points, with an additional 30 points from temporary enhancements. However, the divine physical strength boost multiplies ordinary power by 200 times, and it has elevated Lakrak's strength to an incredible 630 points that completely surpasses the Drake's capabilities. This overwhelming power disparity leaves everyone present in a state of stunned shock and awe as Lakrak moves with impossible speed, defeating the massive creature with a single decisive strike that echoes across the valley. The demonstration of divine power makes everyone recognize that only someone truly blessed by a deity could achieve such an impossible feat. The foreign leader, in desperate denial, still refuses to accept defeat. He snatches up a short sword from the ground and charges at Lakrak in a final, reckless attack. Faced with this stubborn opposition, Lakrak doesn't hesitate to deliver a powerful, open-handed slap that connects with the leader's temple and knocks him unconscious immediately. He then turns to challenge others to step forward, his voice ringing with authority that prompts the remaining tribespeople to lay down their weapons and surrender completely. Just as the divine blessing's duration concludes, Lakrak examines his body in amazement, feeling as if a deity had truly possessed him during the battle. His hands tremble slightly with the aftermath of power that had flowed through him. Nebula observes Lakrak's performance with great satisfaction from above, pleased with how his chosen priest has handled the confrontation. That evening, Lakrak sits by the campfire and contemplates their next steps. The addition of nearly 500 new members means their small oasis cannot possibly sustain a population that has grown sixfold through these new additions. He understands they must venture outward to develop a stronger civilization, recognizing that their current nomadic existence cannot provide the steady resources needed for long-term survival. The tribe integration brings diverse talents and knowledge that Lakrak knows they must utilize properly. Blacksmiths, hunters, gatherers, and storytellers, all now looking to him for leadership. He begins planning how to organize these resources to ensure their civilization's continued development and expansion into the unknown territories that await them. The captured drake continues to display aggressive behavior toward nearly everyone who approaches. It strains violently against its strong ropes, showing clear resistance to captivity. The assigned guards struggle desperately to manage the powerful beast, their efforts proving utterly futile against its raw, untamed strength. They maintain a cautious distance, recognizing their powerlessness against such a magnificent but dangerous creature. Everything transforms dramatically when Lakrak approaches the restless beast. The drake's aggressive behavior ceases immediately as the creature seems to recognize something different about this particular lizard man. Where there was once fury and resistance, now appears something resembling reverence. The massive beast actually trembles slightly, not with anger but with what can only be described as fearful respect. Its fierce eyes lose their hostility, regarding Lakrak with unexpected recognition. To the astonishment of all observers, the drake willingly accepts food offered directly from Lakrak's hand, showing extraordinary trust that contrasts sharply with its previous aggression. Lakrak maintains calm composure, gently signaling for the creature to maintain this transformed behavior in the future. Remarkably, the drake becomes significantly more docile following this interaction, settling down in its enclosure with a newfound tranquility that surprises everyone witnessing the transformation. Lakrak privately contemplates that the gods must have preserved this magnificent creature for some important purpose that remains undiscovered. He feels certain this purpose will reveal itself when the time is right, perhaps serving some greater role in their civilization's development that they cannot yet envision. The following day, Lakrak seeks out the tribe's most knowledgeable blacksmith, a seasoned craftsman who possesses rare expertise in iron tool production that few in their community understand. During their detailed conversation, Lakrak inquires about the specific requirements and conditions necessary for proper weapon crafting, recognizing the strategic importance of advanced weaponry. The blacksmith explains patiently how the previous leader's stubbornness and traditional thinking had consistently hindered progress in metalworking, preventing any meaningful advancement in their tools and weapons despite available resources. The craftsman reveals that creating quality iron implements requires substantial amounts of specific types of wood to produce the special high-temperature fuel needed for proper forging, resources they currently lack but could acquire with proper planning. Lacraque carefully studies the short sword in his hand, turning it over thoughtfully as he considers its craftsmanship and potential improvements. He recognizes that superior tools could dramatically improve their hunting efficiency and success rates, while better weapons would significantly enhance the tribe's overall combat capabilities and security against future threats. After listening carefully to the blacksmith's detailed explanations, Lacraque informs him that he will consider the matter carefully overnight before making any decisions about resource allocation and workforce assignment. Later that same day, a one-armed lizard man approaches Lacraque after hearing about the search for experienced guides. The weathered traveler offers his navigation services voluntarily, despite his physical limitations, his single arm gesturing with practiced grace as he speaks. When Lacraque questions whether the man possesses sufficient wandering experience given his condition, the one-armed lizard man confirms this with a gentle but confident smile that speaks of hard-earned wisdom. He describes his body as old but well-traveled, having journeyed extensively across diverse landscapes while searching for a place that would finally accept him despite his differences. The wanderer claims to have learned precise direction discernment through his extensive travels across various terrains, from dense forests to open deserts. This statement immediately sparks Lacraque's curiosity about the methods behind his navigation skills, especially given his physical limitation. The one-armed man simply gestures toward the sky above them, indicating that all his answers lie in the heavens rather than in conventional tools or maps. Later, as the night falls and stars emerge in the darkening sky, Lacraque deduces he means the celestial bodies above them, a revelation that opens new possibilities for navigation. The experienced navigator confirms this theory about stellar navigation techniques, sharing that the stars have been his constant guides through countless journeys. Although uncertain about specific astronomical movements or names, he demonstrates his practical knowledge of direction finding, using star patterns and constellations. He explains that understanding star paths and seasonal changes prevents travelers from losing their way, even in completely unfamiliar territory without landmarks. Gazing at the vast starry sky fills Lacraque with profound awe and wonder at the universe's complexity and the knowledge contained in those distant lights. The one-armed man proposes to teach Lacraque basic navigation techniques to gain his trust. He explains to Lacraque how stars gradually shift their positions with the changing seasons and how to identify key constellations that remain constant through the years. After explaining thoroughly, he arranges to continue the astronomy lessons at the same time the following evening, establishing a regular learning schedule that will continue until Lacraque masters these celestial navigation skills. Later that night, the guard responsible for watching the drake approaches Lacraque with positive updates about the creature's remarkably improved behavior following its feeding. The guard actually wants to discuss additional matters beyond the drake's domestication progress, his expression turning serious as he shares an important insight stemming from their successful taming of the powerful creature. Since they managed to domesticate such a formidable beast, the guard suggests they should attempt to tame other similar creatures that could benefit their community. Lacraque encourages him to elaborate further on this interesting concept, recognizing the value in this line of thinking. The guard points toward the large herd of wild buffalo grazing peacefully on the plains below their hill settlement, his eyes shining with possibility. He suggests these abundant animals represent the next logical target for their domestication efforts. These creatures can provide ongoing resources rather than temporary sustenance. At that precise moment, Nebula receives a system notification announcing that Lacraque's tribe has officially discovered the livestock farming skill. This breakthrough represents another significant advancement in their civilization's development under divine guidance, opening new possibilities for growth, sustainability, and permanent settlement that could transform their nomadic existence into something more stable and prosperous. Historical records indicate that human civilization once divided into two distinct developmental paths, with some communities specializing in agricultural practices while others focused on livestock management. Although the lizard man society does not represent a truly primitive civilization, its progression follows patterns consistent with reality. Most major civilizations throughout history have originated in river basins where conditions greatly facilitated agricultural development. However, the tribe selected by Nebula possesses unique characteristics that set them apart from these historical patterns. These lizardmen demonstrate remarkable physical strength and exceptional environmental adaptability, making them better suited for a pastoral lifestyle rather than conventional agriculture. Their natural capabilities allow them to thrive in conditions that would challenge other species. With minimal divine guidance, their civilization progresses at an accelerated pace, particularly after embracing manufacturing capabilities that give their development additional momentum. With Lakrak's full support, the blacksmith finally obtains the necessary materials for forging stronger iron tools. Through dedicated effort and experimentation, the blacksmith successfully produces basic iron implements. While these early iron tools might still be softer than carefully crafted bronze instruments, they represent a tremendous advancement compared to the primitive stone tools previously used by the tribe. The emergence of iron technology provides significant assistance to their overall development and productivity. Nebula receives an unexpected benefit from their astronomical studies, though the current knowledge remains too primitive to qualify as true astronomy. Astrology might be a more appropriate term for their current understanding of celestial patterns. However, this foundational knowledge will eventually pave the way for world-changing discoveries in the distant future, establishing the basis for proper astronomical science. Lakrak frequently looks up at the starry night sky, finally understanding why the one-armed man described stars as celestial guides. Although stellar patterns seem unpredictable at first observation, they provide clear directional guidance for travelers. This astronomical knowledge combines with their new iron tools to create unprecedented opportunities for expansion and development. Lakrak reflects that the gods have brought them to this land for important purposes, including the meaningful reunion with their former tribespeople. He believes divine intervention has allowed their survival while those driven into the wilderness face certain death. However, he understands that the gods desire salvation rather than exclusion, wanting them to survive so they can shelter more people according to divine directive. After careful consideration, Lakrak decides that at dawn they will leave their current location to seek additional resources. He requests that the one-armed man teach stellar navigation knowledge to others and help plan their upcoming journey. The one-armed man points toward the rising sun's direction, outlining a detailed route that will take them right of the sun for 10 days of travel. The planned journey continues along a rotten lake for 15 additional days, then proceeds through desolate mountain roads and valley paths for 3 more days. This route will eventually lead them to an endless forest rich with food and resources, representing an ideal place for settlement and expansion. The one-armed lizard man describes it simply as a good place to live after completing the challenging journey. Following this planning session, Lakrak climbs up to the altar area where he questions Yor about why they haven't consumed the wild buffalo captured yesterday. Faced with Lakrak's inquiry, Yor appears genuinely puzzled and concerned, fearing that he might have made some serious error in his decision-making. Yor explains his actions nervously, admitting he wasn't very hungry when everyone else was busy capturing the wild bison. He chose not to eat any of the meat at that time despite the opportunity. The lizard man appears somewhat bewildered during his explanation, confessing he wasn't thinking deeply about his decision at the moment. He simply felt his stomach wasn't hungry yet, and he worried that eating immediately might prevent him from consuming food later when truly hungry. This simple practical consideration guided his choice to preserve rather than consume the valuable resource immediately. Lakrak affirms Yor's thoughtful approach to resource management, recognizing the wisdom in his actions. He acknowledges that while Yor might want to eat the beef now, preparing for future needs demonstrates greater foresight. Lakrak questions whether Yor can maintain this disciplined approach consistently, testing his commitment to long-term thinking. Yor responds with firm determination, declaring his willingness to persevere with this approach as long as he doesn't starve, showing both practicality and dedication to the tribe's welfare. This exchange leads Lakrak to entrust the tribe with a greater mission, presenting them with a sharp spear that leaves everyone astonished. Previously, even tribal leaders hardly possessed such finely crafted weapons, making this a remarkable sight. Lakrak declares this spear represents a reward for those who can overcome their immediate appetites for long-term benefits. The tribe members express great satisfaction with this reward system, inspiring those who didn't receive recognition to strive for better performance in future opportunities. Lakrak then takes a symbolic piece of buffalo bone and wears it on his face, demonstrating the responsibility of protecting the tribe to his people. He emphasizes that dangers exist everywhere in the wilderness, requiring constant vigilance and preparation. Soon, a group of warriors appears before everyone armed with similar buffalo bone armor and weapons. Each warrior keeps the nameless beetle god in their hearts as they prepare for their mission, with Lakrak assuring them that the deity will accompany and protect them throughout their endeavors. At this moment, Lakrak understands this decision originates from his own leadership rather than divine directive, recognizing that remaining in their current location would lead to repeating past mistakes within a few years. He determines that venturing outward represents their only viable path forward, asking forgiveness from the nameless beetle god for this independent decision. Nebula observes all these developments within the Lizardman tribe, having expected Lakrak would make such choices since they are essential for his growth into proper priesthood. Nebula's system records significant attribute updates for Lakrak, with reliability increasing from 4 to 7, warrior level elevating from 2 to 3, leadership jumping from 7 to 14, and priest level advancing from 1 to 2. With Nebula's divine assistance, Lakrak's abilities enhance dramatically across all attributes, nearly doubling his overall capabilities. Nebula acknowledges that Lakrak has performed well so far, meeting all expectations satisfactorily. From this point forward, Lakrak will serve as a fully qualified leader for his people. Several days later, the Lizardman tribe struggles through wilderness terrain under intense heat that even challenges their captured drake. When the exhausted creature finally lies down unable to continue, everyone gathers to check its condition. The one-armed man speculates the drake has become too tired to continue immediately. Seeing this situation, Lakrak signals everyone to rest temporarily while he grows concerned about their rapidly diminishing food supplies. They can only hope for another divine miracle to sustain them. Just as concerns about provisions reach their peak, a tribe member returns hurriedly from scouting duties, signaling that they have encountered other tribespeople ahead of their position. The scout indicates they have discovered a group of goblins in their path. The goblins appear quite happy to encounter lizardmen. They can hunt these and fill their stomachs. It turns out they have left their previous location, primarily because a terrifying monster had been dwelling there. They rush to attack the lizardmen tribe. However, their mood shifts dramatically when they encounter a group of powerful lizardmen standing before them, well-equipped with finely made weapons. The sight instantly stuns the goblins, causing them to immediately drop their primitive stone tools and choose surrender without resistance. They willingly hand over their remaining food supplies as a peace offering, explaining that there must be some misunderstanding since they only want to leave the canyon quickly to find sustenance in the wilderness. Lakrak grows curious about what forced them to abandon their home, prompting the goblin leader to point toward the mountains behind them. The leader explains they used to live there peacefully until a monster suddenly appeared in their territory. This revelation makes Lakrak frown deeply, since the described monster appears to be located precisely in the direction their tribe needs to travel. Nebula observes everything from above and recognizes this indeed represents a formidable enemy, the giant crustaceans known to inhabit these regions. The giant crustaceans possess statistics far superior to the lizardman tribe's capabilities, including 2 massive venomous fangs that make them extremely dangerous opponents. Historical records from the Lost World describe these creatures as having been created by the gods before their disappearance, left behind on the planet after the divine beings vanished. The goblin leader then leads Lakrak toward the monster's location, where Lakrak witnesses the gigantic creature with his own eyes and becomes truly shocked by its enormous size. Even the monster's sleeping breaths cause the mountains to shake violently, demonstrating its incredible power. The goblin leader signals Lakrak not to feel too nervous, explaining that this tremendous noise simply represents the sound of the monster sleeping. When Lakrak inquires how many days a detour might require, the answer of at least 8 days makes him frown deeply as he considers their limited supplies and tired tribe members. Nebula notices Lakrak's understandable hesitation given the tribe members' visible fear and the apparent logic of choosing the safer detour option. He wonders internally what course of action Lakrak will ultimately select for their people. At this critical moment, JockJut notices something important about the giant rocks positioned above the monster's location. After careful observation and contemplation, she develops a strategic plan to eliminate the monster using their available resources. JockJut signals to Lakrak that they must fight rather than detour, explaining that they now possess enough advantages to succeed. Her inspiration comes from observing the blacksmith's tool-making process, particularly how optimizing structures can achieve greater effects with reduced effort. She suggests they don't need complicated tools, just a few strategically placed sticks could generate enough energy to defeat the monster. This innovative approach demonstrates how the tribe's growing knowledge and skills continue to develop under Nebula's guidance, turning potential disasters into opportunities for advancement. Lakrak considers this clever strategy while weighing the risks against their need to proceed forward rather than take a lengthy detour that would strain their limited resources. Nebula observes with interest how his followers continue to develop creative solutions to challenges, showing their growing independence and problem-solving capabilities within the game's mechanics and their developing civilization. JockJut develops an ingenious plan based on the lever principle, proposing to move a fulcrum that would push massive boulders over the monster's location. The strategy involves using rolling stones to crush the enormous crustacean beneath their weight. Though simple in concept, the plan demonstrates clever thinking about physics and resource management. However, to successfully kill a creature of this magnitude, all rocks must hit simultaneously to maximize impact and ensure success. Nebula observes the plan with some uncertainty, wondering whether this approach will prove sufficient against such a powerful monster. The tribe members begin moving the lever mechanism, setting the boulders in motion down the mountainside. The rocks gain speed rapidly as they descend toward their target. By the time the monster notices something wrong approaching, the boulders already reach its position, smashing heavily onto its crown with tremendous force. Unfortunately, 3 boulders prove insufficient to kill the massive creature, only managing to fracture its protective shell while further enraging it with pain and anger. Seeing the incomplete results, Lecrack signals everyone to accelerate their efforts and push all remaining rocks downward. Nebula recognizes that ordinary people cannot move the boulders quickly enough to complete the task in time. At this critical moment, Nebula blesses Lecrack with another surge of divine strength. In an instant of enhanced power, Lecrack single-handedly pushes a boulder into the air and uses his physical strength to throw another rock downward with incredible force. Lecrack understands the monster might still dodge the falling boulders, so he decides to actively interfere with its movements. He leaps toward the cliff edge, gathering his strength and aiming his spear precisely at the monster's weak point. The thrown spear prevents the monster from dodging in time, allowing the boulder from above to hit it squarely. The first boulder incapacitates it for combat, and the second boulder delivers the final fatal blow to complete the hunt successfully. Nebula feels very pleased with Lecrack's exceptional performance throughout the dangerous hunt. The system immediately acknowledges their achievement with a notification that the tribe has slain an abomination-class ancient crustacean. With the monster eliminated, Nebula receives a special hunting reward in the form of abomination essence. The notification explains that each god possesses resources adapted to their domain, and while faith can create many things, generating entirely new creations often requires special ingredients like this essence. Nebula contemplates the possibilities presented by this rare resource, considering how he might create a creature that could act as a generator of faith resources. Such a creation could spread divine teachings through its mere existence, potentially elevating awareness of the nameless beetle god among the people. Additionally, if these creatures reach higher levels of development, they might gain advanced abilities similar to apostles or avatars in power and purpose. However, Nebula remains uncertain whether this creation method follows the same rules as previous games he has experienced. He ponders how to best utilize this inner core resource and what specific type of creature he should create to maximize its potential benefits for his growing civilization. On the other side of the campsite, Jael carefully examines the massive body of the defeated monster. She experiments by pulling off one of the creature's thick legs, wondering if its meat might be edible enough to provide nourishment. After conducting a simple taste test, she determines the monster's flesh is indeed edible but requires proper processing due to its unpleasant natural flavor. While considering how to improve the meat's taste, she notices clusters of wild herbs growing naturally on nearby rocks. Jael develops the idea that these herbs might serve as seasoning to make the monster meat more palatable. After applying a simple treatment with the gathered herbs, the meat's flavor improves significantly, becoming much more delicious and enjoyable to eat. During their shared meal around the campfire, Jael unexpectedly brings up the sensitive topic of tribal leadership continuity by asking Lecrack about his plans for an heir. She suggests that as tribal leader, he should seriously consider finding a suitable mate to ensure future stability. Lecrack appears completely stunned by this suggestion, having never previously considered this personal matter. Seeing his silent reaction, Jael continues her questioning with practical concerns about tribal leadership and his advancing age. She proposes herself as a potential candidate, asking directly what he thinks about this possibility. Before Lecrack can formulate his response, a shimmering golden light reflecting from nearby debris catches his attention across the campsite. He investigates the source and discovers a metal plate inscribed with mysterious runes that seems to have fallen from the monster's back during the battle. Meanwhile, Yor's curiosity leads him to reach out and touch the strange object, even attempting to bite it directly. The one-armed traveler quickly intervenes to stop this dangerous action, explaining this substance is called gold based on knowledge from his travels. The one-armed man elaborates that gold maintains its appearance indefinitely without tarnishing or decaying over time. He suggests Yor would find more satisfaction hunting antelope instead of trying to eat metal. Yor immediately shifts his attention toward the prospect of delicious antelope meat. Meanwhile, Lecrack becomes deeply engrossed in studying the gold plate, contemplating its eternal nature compared to everything else that eventually dies, decays, or disappears. Lecrack reasons that since this metal plate doesn't deteriorate, its creator must have intended to preserve something important upon its surface. Later that night, he sits on a large stone while holding the gold plate and studying its mysterious runes by firelight. He feels certain these symbols conceal significant secrets worth discovering. His concentration is broken by buzzing noises nearby where insects circle above leftover antelope meat as if conveying some message. Lecrack carefully observes the insects' flight patterns and notices their trajectories remarkably resemble the symbols engraved on the gold plate. Following these insect movements as hints, he recreates the symbols in the soil and gradually deciphers their hidden meanings. The next morning, Lakrak immediately shares his discoveries with Jael as his first priority. He carves 2 distinct symbols representing male and female into the earth between them. Between these symbols, he adds another marking shaped like a small stream that means to become mates in the decoded language. This symbolic arrangement serves as his answer to her previous question about their relationship. She then draws a circle around it and asks him if he understands this message. He blushes and confirms that he understands her. Soon, the Lizardman tribe achieves a remarkable cultural breakthrough through the invention of their own comprehensive writing system and the creation of a unique symbolic script. These intellectual accomplishments typically require multiple generations to develop organically within a civilization's natural evolution. Surprisingly, the tribe has managed to establish this sophisticated communication method during their early developmental stages, demonstrating extraordinary cultural acceleration. For Nebula, observing from his divine perspective above, this unexpected advancement provides a significant strategic advantage over other developing civilizations in the game world. During this, the Lizardman tribe organizes a special festival celebration that marks their cultural maturation. The event appears superficially to be an ordinary hunting competition to casual observers. In reality, the festival represents the deep-rooted Lizardman tradition for celebrating weddings and formal partnerships within their society. Participants demonstrate their commitment and devotion by capturing the largest and most challenging prey as ceremonial gifts for their spouses. This practice symbolizes both physical strength and emotional loyalty between partners, reinforcing social bonds. Nebula watches these developments with keen interest, particularly looking forward to how the partnership between Lakrak and Jael will influence the tribe's future direction and decision-making. Several days after securing their stable food supply, Lakrak makes the significant decision to lead his people onward from their forest settlement. He formally informs the goblin leader that the monster threat has been completely eliminated from their shared territory. The grateful goblin leader expresses sincere appreciation for Lakrak's crucial assistance, acknowledging that without this intervention, his people might have faced continued dangerous wandering through wilderness areas. The goblin leader then introduces his own child to Lakrak, emphasizing the young goblin's extensive familiarity with local terrain and hidden pathways. He offers his child services as an experienced navigator for their journey, specifically warning about numerous wild animals and hidden traps throughout the forest that his child could help them avoid. During their travels through unfamiliar territory, the Lizardman tribe discovers mysterious, unfamiliar footprints along their path. Lakrak, encountering such markings for the first time, immediately consults their experienced one-armed traveler for identification and interpretation. The one-armed Lizardman recognizes the tracks immediately as belonging to frogmen, explaining that they represent an extremely cunning species with both peaceful and hostile individuals among their kind. Since these frogmen have been actively scouting their area, they likely possess substantial combat experience and tactical knowledge. Based on the detailed footprint patterns and distribution, there appear to be at least 5 individuals from a tribe potentially larger and more organized than their own. Following this concerning discovery, Lakrak decides to return to their camp to implement enhanced security measures immediately. His first action upon returning involves dramatically doubling the size of their protected camp area and establishing stronger perimeter defenses. He deploys additional scouts and border guards throughout their territory, creating overlapping surveillance patterns. While organizing these comprehensive defensive arrangements, he emphasizes the importance of fair work distribution among tribe members to maintain morale and cooperation. This careful approach helps maintain internal stability during the period of heightened alertness and uncertainty. Lakrak understands intuitively that another tribe is undoubtedly monitoring their movements and preparations, so he ensures they prepare accordingly in advance. After several days of enhanced security measures and vigilant watchkeeping, they cease encountering any further frogmen activity in their immediate area. During this unexpectedly peaceful period, they make extensive preparations and improvements to ensure ongoing tribal safety and self-sufficiency. Nebula observes these developments with considerable pride from his divine perspective, believing few other players could achieve greater success than himself under similar challenging circumstances. The Lizardman tribe not only develops advanced livestock farming techniques, but also rapidly evolves their housing structures and lifestyle adaptations to better suit their environment. Most remarkably, they establish a fully functional written communication system that tribe members share collectively and utilize daily. They combine traditional hunting marks and symbolic representations to create primitive but effectively detailed maps of their territory. Lakrak begins systematically recording each person's daily harvest contributions, creating accountability and incentive systems. This detailed documentation not only improves individual efficiency, but also significantly increases their overall food production capacity and resource management. This transformation represents a qualitative leap in their civilization's development trajectory and organizational sophistication. Meanwhile, the locust population under Nebula's divine influence continues its steady expansion across the regions. His insect territory now reaches level 4, showing remarkable growth and spread across continents. Nebula finds this development method both astonishing and unprecedented, something he could not have imagined even in his most ambitious strategic dreams. He carefully considers whether to strategically benefit from this insect proliferation situation for maximum advantage. Although Lakrak's leadership abilities and the tribe's overall status now exceed average development levels, this merely represents their beginning stage of civilization development. The challenges awaiting them would undoubtedly prove more dangerous than any previous crisis they had faced. Suddenly, Yor comes running to Lakrak in a visible state of panic and urgency, announcing that frogmen visitors have unexpectedly arrived at their settlement's perimeter. Moments later, a formal group of frogmen appears before Lakrak, who decides to personally welcome them following peaceful coexistence principles despite his reservations. When he observes the frogmen delegation closely, Lakrak can't help frowning in deep concern and suspicion. He notices with surprise and alarm that a lizardman walks among the frogmen representatives as part of their diplomatic party. This unexpected and unusual presence immediately makes Lakrak realize the situation carries complex implications far beyond simple diplomacy or territorial discussions. The mysterious inclusion of a lizardman among the frogmen strongly suggests these visitors might have purposes and intentions extending well beyond peaceful negotiations or conventional tribal interactions. Upon their arrival, the frogmen delegation introduced themselves politely to the lizardman tribe. Their designated spokesperson steps forward and announces clearly, "I am Shunan, son of the great tribal leader Alroy." He immediately offers assurances that they come with no intention of opposing the lizardman tribe or instigating any conflict. Lakrak responds with equal formality, introducing himself as tribal leader Lakrak of the lizardman community. He carefully reciprocates their peaceful intentions by stating that his tribe likewise maintains no desire for confrontation or hostility between their peoples. Lakrak then inquires directly about their specific purpose for visiting the settlement. The frogmen explain their belief that the lizardman tribe has encroached upon traditional frogmen territory. To this territorial claim, Lakrak expresses respectful but firm disagreement. He calmly points out that the area consisted of unclaimed wilderness when they arrived, showing no visible signs of frogmen activity or established ownership markers. He offers a diplomatic response, stating that if they have indeed trespassed on legitimate frogmen lands, he will offer sincere apologies for any misunderstanding. Lakrak further clarifies their situation by explaining how his people migrated from distant lands out of necessity. He describes their temporary settlement in this location as a matter of survival rather than territorial ambition. He then skillfully shifts the conversation by offering Shunan a thoughtful and unexpected compliment. He suggests that Shunan appears perfectly suited to meet the requirements for becoming the next tribal leader among the frogmen. This strategic praise causes Shunan visible embarrassment and noticeable confusion, disrupting his diplomatic composure. Through their ongoing conversation, Lakrak quickly pieces together the true situation behind their visit. As he initially suspected, the frogmen's appearance represents more than a simple diplomatic mission. They have been sent by their tribal leader specifically to closely monitor the lizardman tribe's activities and assess their military strength. What makes Lakrak particularly suspicious is the presence of a lizardman named Owen among the frogmen delegation, which strikes him as highly unusual and politically questionable. Lakrak decides he needs to carefully gather more intelligence about their visitors. He proposes inviting the frogmen to their village for more detailed discussions about territorial matters. He suggests they celebrate their peaceful agreement with a shared ceremonial meal. Shunan appears ready to accept this invitation when another frogman standing behind him suddenly interrupts their conversation, forcing him to reluctantly decline the offer. Lakrak persists with his invitation, stating that he cannot simply send away visitors who have done them the courtesy of calling upon their settlement. He assures them the gathering will involve just a simple meal with no other obligations or expectations. Hearing that the event will be limited to dining and conversation, the frogmen finally nod in collective agreement and accept the hospitality offer. Later that evening, Lakrak prepares a generously roasted whole sheep to warmly host their guests. He keeps the frogmen engaged in continuous conversation to better understand the relationship between their tribes and discern their true purpose for visiting. However, Lakrak carefully avoids showing his curiosity too openly or appearing overly interested in their affairs. To build diplomatic rapport, he intentionally makes casual conversation with Shunan, asking about the distinctive feathers he wears as part of his ceremonial attire. Shunan explains that these special feathers come from the cockatrice, describing it as an extremely dangerous creature known for its enormous size, venomous nature, and incredible speed. Curious about hunting methods for such creatures, Lakrak asks whether these beasts can be killed with traditional spears. Hearing this question, Shunan scoffs slightly before ordering the lizard man Owen to bring his personal bow and arrow set for demonstration. After receiving the weapons, Shunan instructs Owen to hang a target at a considerable distance, preparing to demonstrate his superior archery skills. Lakrak sees through this display as a transparent attempt to impress them, but also recognizes it as a valuable opportunity for observation. After the frogmen complete their display of precise archery abilities, Lakrak expresses genuine interest in trying the equipment himself. He deliberately shoots his arrow off target, knowing this will require someone to retrieve the scattered arrows from the practice field. As expected, Owen is called over to pick up the missed shots. Lakrak uses the excuse of practicing archery techniques to walk over and help collect the arrows, thereby creating a brief opportunity for one-on-one interaction with Owen away from the main group. During their brief but significant contact, Lakrak notices that Owen constantly emphasizes the supposedly mutually supportive relationship between himself and the frogmen. The lizard man speaks with rehearsed certainty about their harmonious coexistence, yet his body language suggests underlying tension and discomfort with this narrative.